how much time have you had to spend just kind of figuring it out since then?
Yeah, we started having some Zoom meetings earlier in the offseason among special teams coaches to kind of go through, the NFL would like to change the outlook of kickoff and kickoff return to hopefully generate more returns, make it a little bit more entertaining, but also take away some of the running aspect of the kickoff team. So there's a lot of different things and models that were looked at. There's kind of already a preliminary model that the competition committee had kind of already developed. There was some input and voting, amongst the 32 special teams coaches as we kind of looked at some of the stuff. Some stuff was kind of tweaked from the original model, but for the most part, the original model that they had proposed was the proposal. We still don't have the official rule yet. That'll be approved in the May owners meetings. So we're kind of operating off of the proposal right now, knowing that there will be some changes once we see the official rule that comes out of the owners meetings in May. They'll even reevaluate it after preseason, so we expect after the second preseason game them to reevaluate the ruling and make any more tweaks to it as well. So it's going to constantly be kind of updated and adapted and changed over time. It's also, obviously we took the XFL model. The NFL took the XFL model, but then tweaked a number of different things about it. The kickoff teams lined up further back than they were in the XFL. Different than the XFL, the play starts either when the ball has hit the ground in the landing zone or been touched by a returner. So some of these tweaks and things, have not been tested or practiced yet. So there is a lot of unknown that we kind of got to figure out how does the space and timing and scheme of all these different tweaks work. Certainly there's a combination of NFL clips of techniques we're showing, combination of XFL clips as we kind of marry all that together. We're working through some of those techniques to see, what do guys prefer in different techniques and fundamentals of, some of the kickoff return stuff being different. From a schematic standpoint, we've got an idea of where the foundation we want to start is, but it's really hard to know until we can really do it. And we can't really do it because we can't have contact until we get into training camp. That becomes a little bit of the difficult part. So it's certainly going to happen fast when we get into training camp and preseason as everybody kind of adapts off of each other and sees what everybody else is doing with it. But certainly that'll make it some things entertaining for sure.
I mean, it's kind of uncharted territory as a coach, I'm sure, for all of you, because they've tweaked it before, but this is not a tweak.
This is a very big change, yeah.
Right. You have nothing to go off of other than, the previous tape. Are you having to tap into some different skills, I guess, as a coach to figure this out to a degree?
I think, it's just a matter of you're always looking to enhance and study other things or other schemes and things, and that just kind of goes back into doing the same type of analysis or research you would normally do in the offseason. This takes a little bit more of a deeper dive because it is new. It does help that we at least have the foundation of the XFL to be able to watch some of those things and then kind of, try to predict how some of the tweaks will work off of that and try to be able to practice some of those things.
You look at it as the preliminary, I guess, a little bit more punt returning for the kick return, based off the return, just the shorter area, I guess, and collisions earlier in the play.
Yes, there are definitely going to be some aspects that end up being like a punt return. I would definitely agree to that. I think there was less space in the XFL, so that was even more, became kind of like a more confined space punt return. This could potentially, depending on how it plays out, have a little bit more space. I think initially it could start off somewhat similar to a kickoff return rep, but then quickly transition into more of like a punt return type of coverage rep. But I certainly think, as you look at returners, there could be less space, right? So it's going to be a little bit different than your traditional kickoff return rep, where the kickoff returner might have had a bunch of space to be able to build up speed and then be able to make his cuts. There could be a lot more confined space punt returner type of cuts and moves that are made, and you look at more running backs or punt returners being used in some of those positions.
You view personnel coverage-wise could be bigger personnel because they theoretically wouldn't need to run as much as kickoffs?
So because you don't need to run as much, certainly that opens the door for all personnel to potentially be able to be used there because you're not worried about that 30-yard run up where guys might be taxed more with their legs and things. So there is some instances where maybe there'll be more defensive linemen or bigger people there. That's still kind of a little bit of a question mark. I think as you look at the XFL, the model that works the best for them is put as many good defensive tacklers you can on the field, and who are your best tacklers, because there's going to be more returns. There's going to be a little bit less running, so who are the best tacklers on the team and get as many of them on the field as possible.
For the returner, you're kind of talking about it might be a little bit different than the traditional kickoff skill set. For Anthony Gould, coming in where Chris Ballard was talking about his potential there, like he seems to have really good acceleration in addition to long speed. Does that give him a shot to compete in that role?
For sure, yeah. We're really excited about Anthony. I think one of the biggest areas that we were looking to improve this offseason was returner. Making good decisions at returner and finding somebody that can generate explosive returns and change the game for us in ways that we did not live up to the standard last year. So we're really excited about getting Dallas Flowers back healthy. We're really excited about getting Anthony back healthy, or getting Anthony to join us and getting Ashton Doolin back healthy. I think once we can get the guys that we had to start training camp last year back healthy and get Anthony to join that group, we start to get a really good group of returners that could all make a difference. I think Anthony, being one of the top punt returners in college football, is really excited to get him to join our group. And that skill set, just kind of like we talked about, will definitely, I think, be able to be something we can use in the new kickoff model.
I think Ashton was in earlier. I think he said you guys had 9 kick returns. Is that right, last year?
Yes.
Based off the numbers the NFL has given you, any guess like how that could increase based off how many kickoffs I guess you had last year?
Yeah, so don't quote me on the numbers. The number last year, I believe, on returns, it was something in the 20s, throughout the entire NFL. So it was like something like 23% of kickoffs were returned last year. They projected originally for this model to be somewhere around 80% of kickoffs would be returned, so that would be a significant increase. We were looking the average last year in the NFL was there was like 1 return a game. Obviously, our average was less than that in our kickoff return, and now you're looking at like 4 a game. That could change slightly because the original proposal had a touchback. If you kick it straight into the end zone for a touchback, was going to go to the 35, so it's a little bit more punitive, and they adjusted that to be the 30. So you could see maybe some teams saying, we'll just take a touchback and put the ball at the 30, which could have that original 80% return rate go down some to more like 70%, but it's still going to be significantly more.
What do you think it'll take to maybe, I guess, learn on the fly with this? Like how putting through preseason games will be to just see it in action, and then going from there to, okay, how do we evaluate this week to week? We have more data coming in on what's working and what's not.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be kind of an overwhelming amount of studying on the fly as we go. I think joint practice and any opportunity we have to joint practice is going to be huge because you kind of get a really good feel and idea for using a lot of different people in different ways that maybe you wouldn't even do in a preseason game. So that's going to be really big and important and really a big focus for that. And then doing as much different things as we can in preseason games to kind of experiment with a variety of different ideas is going to be huge, and studying what all other 31 teams are doing so we can quickly adapt off of that. It's going to be a constant adjustment and change for sure.
Is there anything you really like about the proposal and anything you'd maybe like to see tweaked?
I think, as a special teams coach and looking out for our special team specific players, like the things that's exciting is, hey, we just created opportunities for more plays, more tackles, more returns, more excitement in the game. So, we love that. Obviously there's more to scheme and to work on and do. From a rules standpoint, and we just got to kind of see how some of the things adapts as we go. I think there's a lot of special teams coordinators that would like to see some small tweaks in some different areas. I think one of the big ones that's a conversation is, when should the play start? Right now the play is going to start anytime the ball hits the ground in the landing zone or is touched by the returner. That leaves some incentive for there to be line drive kicks because, hey, it's now an incentive. If we can get the ball to hit the ground, the kickoff team can cover before the returner touches the ball. Right, so it's the kickoff team's incentivized to hit line drive kicks. That could lead to things being a little bit sloppy. And the XFL didn't start until the returner touched the ball. So if the ball was on the ground, it wouldn't start until he went up to start the process of touching it. That's kind of one of those differences that we're still kind of working through, and how's the best way to be able to handle and do some of that. And, does that lead to some weird or funky kicks? We're kind of working through all of those different options.
With the tweaking that's going on, onside kicks, it sounds like they've sort of taken that option really off the table.
Yeah, so onside kick, you have to declare that you're going to do an onside kick. You have to be trailing and in the fourth quarter. Now, there was, I think, 3 surprise onside kicks in the last 2 years. I can't remember the number that the NFL provided. It was such a small aspect of the game that they didn't see that as obviously being as big of a thing. But certainly, now it used to be, hey, we have to get lined up to be able to prevent a surprise onside kick. So we were worried about our alignments for that and try to put ourselves in the best position for our drop angles for kickoff return. We don't have to worry about that now. Like, there are some different alignment rules that we have to fit within. But from a kickoff return standpoint, we can kind of move our alignments on the front line, not having to worry about all those different things, which allows you to be in a better position to maybe make your block.